Singapore's waste is rising, but recycling rates remain low, with plastic recycling down to just 5%. As concerns grow over meeting the Zero Waste Masterplan targets, what's holding back real progress? To address this, we have here Emmanuel Tai from Circular Unite, Professor Johan Sulaiman from the NUS Business School, and Lionel Doray from Zero Waste SG. Now, starting with Emmanuel, what are the biggest hurdles that Singapore is facing when it comes to reducing landfill waste?
I think many businesses and organizations still lacks the digital tools needed to track, analyze, or even optimize their waste streams. And this basically results in what we term as limited visibility, transparency, traceability, and accountability, which is making it very, very difficult to drive meaningful initiatives and reductions in waste and improving in recycling rates as well. So I think the absence of these unified data standards and fragmented nature of recycling operations basically hinders large scale adoption of best practices as well as technology. And many organizations even struggle to basically quantify the return on investments or ROI for investing in any new waste management technologies, which ultimately slows down the pace of innovation.
The contamination rate, as you know, is really, really very high. It's at 40%. And also the recycling rate is very low at 12%. And I think it all boils down to one very clear understanding, which is the whole idea of overconsumption and the amount of education that is needed for the individual to understand about overconsumption and what can be done to rectify it.
People may want or intend to recycle, but they often don't know how to do it right. One of the biggest challenges that many people face is that they are not very clear on how to recycle properly. Sometimes we cannot find the recycling blue bins, but even when we find them and throw items into the recycling bins, contaminated items can mean that the entire batch ends up being incinerated and going into landfill instead of being recycled. So while the intention is there, but the outcome may not be there, right? So that's a challenge. Another challenge is infrastructure. So Singapore, because of its size, doesn't have much of a domestic recycling industry, particularly for plastics. We have relied a lot on exporting waste, particularly plastics, but other countries are tightening up their restrictions in terms of importing waste and plastics, and therefore the option for Singapore to export plastics or plastic waste is drying up. And that's posing a real challenge for recycling domestically. There's also a bit of a paradox in Singapore. The waste to energy system in Singapore is quite efficient, so there isn't a strong financial push to actually reduce waste because the waste can be converted into energy that can then be used to, for example, to reduce emission. So this means that with landfilling still being relatively cheap and incineration keeping things out of sight, that there's not a lot of push towards increasing recycling. However, the landfill capacity at Semakau is running out and expected to run out of space, completely out of space in about 10 years. Then we as a country is running out of time to shift gears in a big way to reduce our waste and recycle more.
On technology's role this time, how exactly is it helping improve waste management today?
So I come from a family of recyclables. Basically, I'm a third generation waste and recycling family. So having observed waste and recycling since young, I can see that waste management is no longer just about moving trash from point A to point B. So technology is fundamentally transforming how waste management can actually enable what we call real-time data collection, automated analysis, as well as transparent and accurate reporting. So digital platform like ours empower businesses to sensorize their existing infrastructure, providing a new layer of transparency and actionable insights. And this not only streamlines their operations, but this also supports their journey towards compliance. And with this increasingly stringent regulations from not only Singapore, but many other countries across the APAC region, I think this can actually help organizations comply to these regulations. And we actually leverage on AI, and our modular platform can offer what we call customized recommendations, as well as provide benchmarking that helps businesses identify inefficiency automatically, and at the same time save costs.
So I would say we actually do have a few different technology that is being introduced in Singapore. One of them, coincidentally, is actually what we call a smart recycling infrastructure, where we do see many different smart recycling hubs introduced around Singapore. In fact, just last Saturday, we launched one right at Queenstown area in Singapore. And how it works is really the idea of, first of all, understanding your waste, sorting them out at home, and bringing it down to this multi-stream recycling infrastructure where you drop them into plastic, paper, metal, glass. And why is this different? The bins stations themselves, they are actually part of a closed loop partners network where the items that you drop in are actually tracked all the way until it goes to the recycling station, the recycling portion of the loop. And at the same time, the bins themselves also require you to sign in and to register.
There are smarter, faster, cleaner ways to actually manage waste. For example, we are piloting smart bins with sensors that can help to optimize collection routes. These bins use sensors to monitor when they're full, so collection routes can be optimized and emissions can be reduced, saving fuel, saving manpower. Another technology that's being trial and adopted is the AI-powered sorting. So sorting using AI, improving accuracy and potentially reducing contamination. So these advanced sorting facilities use AI and robotics to separate recyclables, such as plastics, much more accurately than humans ever could. This is especially helpful for tricky materials like plastic. Singapore in general is also investing in large-scale innovations. So for example, the ongoing and upcoming Tuas Nexus facility is going to be a major leap forward in waste management because it is designed to treat both waste and water together, and also generating energy from the incinerated material.
Considering all these, how's the response so far? How are consumer habits and business practices shifting in response to waste regulations?
So consumers are increasingly demanding more transparency and accountability from the brands that they support, while businesses are also undergoing growing pressure to demonstrate that they can actually work towards these sustainability goals that they have set to achieve. And this is particularly evident in sectors like hospitality, retail, or even manufacturing, where organizations are adopting digital waste management platforms like Circular Unite to streamline their compliance and reporting as well. So regulations basically is a double-edged sword, right? So it actually helps organizations, or give organizations an opportunity to innovate and differentiate. It's not just a burden to them anymore. And with Circular Unite, this is where we play a pivotal or crucial role with our digital platform.
So very interestingly, I think the common misconception is that everyone thinks that people are lazy and they just want to focus on convenience when we talk about managing waste. But in the past 5 years, we do see a very stark shift in this mentality to one that is a bit more open and logical, provided we provide enough information on the processes and also the impetus of why they need to make the change. Once we have these two in place, then there is some form of change that we see on the ground. One very simple example is the idea of waste consciousness. The moment you are conscious of the waste that you produce, and this can be done very easily by sorting.
In order for Singapore's zero waste targets to gain traction in the community, we need to make sure that the incentives are aligned. So for example, if it's cheaper or easier to dispose rather than to recycle, then consumers will not recycle, right? Not willingly. If sustainability reporting for corporates are not backed by real accountability, then we should not be surprised that progress is stalling. Nevertheless, I think the hope here is that we have been observing a noticeable cultural shift, especially among younger Singaporeans who are more conscious about sustainability. More people are bringing their own containers, choosing to use reusable, and getting involved in things like composting at home, which of course is going to be quite difficult in Singapore given the limited space. As a result, I think old habits still die hard. Convenience typically still win out, especially when it comes to takeaway food, food delivery, and packaging heavy products. So I see some hope, but I think there's more to be done from the consumer's perspective. On the business front, I think regulations are starting to bite. There are requirements on reporting of packaging reduction and packaging waste. There are also requirements on extended producer responsibility. There are forthcoming for plastics and packaging. These requirements are nudging some companies to rethink their product design. They are tracking how much packaging they are using, redesigning their products to use less packaging or more recyclables. So we are seeing more refill models and platforms, some take-back programs being introduced, as well as circular models being considered and adopted in companies. Now, the challenge is to scale this adoption across industries, making these shifts the norm rather than just the exception.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Emmanuel, Lionel, and Professor Johan.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much.
Once again, those are Emmanuel Tai, CEO and co-founder at Circular Unite, Professor Johan Sulaiman, Director for Sustainable and Green Finance Institute at NUS Business School, and Lionel Doray, Executive Director at Zero Waste SG. For more news, visit sbr.com.sg.